This is At the Extremes.
Welcome back to At the Extremes, the podcast where we discuss the extremes in our society and how we got here. As always, we are your hosts. I'm Greg.
I'm Serge.
Oh, man.
I'm angry, dude. I'm so angry because I'm progressing in foosball, but it's hard to take so many L's and not win. And you know what? You're gracious, and just when you manhandle me, and you know, you're gentle. We have our safe words, and it's all good.
I think the safe word is game over.
Oh man, it sure is. God damn it.
Yeah, you know, I think what we'll do, actually, if this is okay with you, on-air idea, I think we should start a YouTube channel, but just us playing foosball, like not affiliated at all. It's just a YouTube foosball channel.
Of just you and me playing foosball and you just fucking me up. Yeah, that sounds great.
I love it. It's thrilling.
The internet can watch me just with my humiliation. I
mean, people were willing to watch a guy sing "Chocolate Rain," so
yeah, that's true. But he had a really deep voice, though.
He did. Man, I forgot all about
Chocolate Rain.
So Sergio, you and I talk throughout the work week, and we text back and forth and blah blah blah. But you know, I was telling you I wanted to introduce you to a new character in our show's pantheon, right? Because the reality is, I'm obsessed with this guy.
Really?
Oh my God. So I found him when I was like kind of trolling through the Cody series, and I caught him on a podcast or a video that he was doing. I was like, who is this character? He's a Trump supporter, QAnon kind of guy.
Awesome.
But he also
sounds like our type of guy.
Oh my God, dude, he's so much fun. Once you hear him talk, you're gonna want to hear him talk the entire rest of the show. I love this guy.
Okay.
You know, he's a QAnon guy, but he's also like a dude who gives to the homeless and like helps firefighters out, like when they're during fire season. So he goes up and like cooks food for people. So he's a complicated character. He's a really strange dude, man. But I want to welcome Sal Capano. He caught the Luigi, Mangione shooting thing, and he goes into like basically it's like 3 minutes of him setting up what the conspiracy could be.
Okay. Breaking news, guys. Hello, everybody. Sorry. Before I get started, we're gonna follow up the story here. There's been a shootout in my neighborhood. I reached out to Crystal. She was texting me. I'm okay. Family's okay. Another shootout, Mike. Can you believe it? I say Mike because Mike lived in this area a few years ago. Another shootout.
Mikey from down the way.
Still police are there. Shootout. One critical, one stable in my neighborhood, upper middle class area. And they say crime is gone. No, crime is still there. A lot of people are coming from California. Again, with this administration, more illegals, more of this, more of that. Just wanted to put it out there.
Fuck.
We are okay. Okay, my wife didn't know what the hell was going on.
It's the Venezuelans.
But here we are. Now, I'm going to give you some.
That if you were paying attention, he was talking about there's a shootout in his neighborhood. At the end of the show, if you remind me, I will give you the follow up to what happened during that shootout and his investigation into it. If you're interested at all,
I'm definitely interested in
this
that.
guy, dude. This guy, he's got. I mean, this is a nearly 2 hour live stream that. He's got so much funny shit because he's your uncle that you don't want to see at Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, He's like the conspiracy minded guy who's like, yo, come on over here real quick while I tell you about the F word.
Is he from like Jersey or whatever, New York?
I feel like he's a Northeast guy, like Mid-Atlantic, because he's got that kind of...
he's got the accent.
He's got the Mid-Atlantic accent, right? So... Anyway, we'll come back to him at the end of the show if you remind me. Because,
Sal Capano.
Dude, Sal Capano. This guy, actually, let me play a little bit longer. I just like to hear him talk.
From my sources.
Right. This is when he goes into the conspiracy.
What my sources are telling me, okay, is this, on this Luigi guy.
Who's Sal Capano's sources?
On this
I love that you asked that question. Facebook. Facebook is his sources.
Hell yeah.
About an hour and a half ago, okay, there's been shots and threats at the police station. okay, in Pennsylvania and New York.
Pennsylvania.
Who are
and
these
New
shots
York.
from? Why is it happening? Is there more to it? We're going to get into it. I'm going to discuss his back pain, him in Hawaii, hurting his back, had back problems, taking medication, and had problems at 26 years old with rectile problems and this and that.
Rectile.
Reptile
way
dysfunction.
More into this wealthy
They're all
family
lizards.
out of Maryland. What do we know? What do we know? Come on in. Let's talk. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a
that's
second
where we're going
here.
to stop it here. But he's already started to build the conspiracy around like what the actual motive is of the shooter from the
36,000 people. Dude, we get like 50 people to listen to us. How the
know.
fuck do we not get 36,000 people listen to us?
Sergio, like I said, at the end of the show, I'll bring you up to date what happened in his neighborhood, in his upper middle class neighborhood that he continues to repeat throughout that video.
There's shootings from the illegals.
He brings in East LA, like I sat and watched the whole thing, and it is just convoluted. It's like Alex Jones meets like your weird uncle, which is your weird uncle, by the way.
Greg, what's wrong with you?
A lot.
I mean, who does that?
A lot. Dude, when you got some time in the sauna after you meditate, it's kind of like, oh, what am I going to do now?
I just need to have some mental torture to, increase my depression and anxiety about.
Well, the other thing is like watching that guy is actually kind of entertaining because it's like it's harmless fun for him. Like he's he's just spreading shit that he heard on Facebook and like some QAnon board.
That's fucking gnarly, dude.
Oh yeah, I know. Gnarly isn't the word. Stupid's the word.
It's just, you know what? Everybody has their things, and that's kind of your thing.
I like watching like weirdos in the right wing space and seeing like how they evolve. Like watching like a petri dish. Like a petri dish, like spreading some mold spores in there and letting it go.
And then the bacteria just totally, or the mold just totally start to spread.
That's how I see it in my mind. It's more like they're in the zoo and I'm like the guy who paid to come watch them.
Are you going to start feeding them and giving like you can at the Baltimore Zoo and feed the giraffes and just feed them leaves?
And when I comment on their videos, that's the equivalent of that. So.
Have you ever gotten a response?
No. And I'm okay with that.
Okay.
It's always from like a throwaway account anyway. So it's normally like, hey, you guys know you're stupid, right? But anyway. Sergio, why don't we say we take a quick break?
Absolutely.
And when we come back, we'll talk about the week that was. We are back. So, Sergio, here are some things we won't be getting into, but probably deserve their own episode. I don't know if you heard this story. It's the 2x2 cult.
No.
So they are a like church, quote unquote, that the leader was found with child pornography and extortion and all this fun stuff. The same thing that you see in most churches. Assad was granted asylum in Russia, which was,
of course,
no one expected anything less. Das, yes. Trump puts the world on notice, saying that the United States will drop out of NATO if NATO doesn't start paying its bills. So that's interesting. I don't know that I'm totally against NATO starting to pay its fair share, but also let's understand that we have a shield against the rest of the world in NATO, and we need to keep ourselves in said organization.
Yes.
So maybe it's worth paying a little bit more for long-term peace.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because, and I'm not one to criticize the military, but our last few campaigns have not been successful, and we've spent.
Say more. What do you mean? It hasn't been successful, Sergio. We have obliterated the enemy. We've eliminated them, and we're living in peace. Everything's fine.
I mean, there's no more terrorism that's going on.
Yeah, terroris's dead.
Yeah, it's all good. But
wasn't there like didn't George Bush I forget what boat he was standing on, but it was like gigantic words like mission accomplished. On
like a Navy carrier or whatever. Yeah.
Fucking stupid. Taylor Swift grosses $2.2 billion from her latest tour. Jesus Christ.
Well, it just ended, right? Wasn't there a tour? This was the last weekend of it.
Yeah.
So my wife was talking about going because I think it ended up in Vancouver, but tickets were like $1,500 for nosebleeds.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
So we were like, oh, if it was $500 or $600, you know,
Yeah.
it would be a cool experience for the daughter who's a big Swiftie.
Yeah.
I'm not spending that much money, man.
God, no.
Fuck no.
And I was going to say, I don't want the Swifties to come for us, but like, part of me wishes that, and this isn't just like Taylor kind of conversation.
It's Ticketmaster and the
Well, just
resale
like-
market.
Just
and
like the
all that.
idea that like, yeah, like what do they say? Like, artists only make their money really when they go on tour.
Yeah. They don't make it from the record sales.
No, not at all. And like fair play, but like part of me is like, and this again, this isn't just directed at Taylor Swift or whatever, or Beyonce or whatever. Like these people make so much money off these concerts, $2.2 billion. Surely it like reinvested money in the local economy, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm not taking that away.
Absolutely.
But there's a part of me that goes like $2.2 billion later, you're coming out of this like super fucking wealthy. And I know she went to like a local Kansas City or Ohio hospital and was taking pictures with children to like kids who had cancer and stuff. And it's kind of like, why don't you fucking like give more than half of that to to cancer research then?
Well, she's a billionaire now, right?
Yeah, she's got to be, right?
Yeah, I think her and Beyonce are billionaires.
Which is like, why don't you just give that money? Like, instead of showing up and taking selfies. Again, I'm not like, this isn't just Taylor Swift. Like, this is all like celebrity culture. Like, why don't you just give
it's
that
capitalism.
money? I mean, well, yeah, there you go. You hit the nail on the head. Jay-Z now has 100 problems.
And
Partying with,
rape might be one.
partying with Diddy, done did ya? Nas tried to tell us a long time ago.
What do you think? Do you think
Yeah.
Do you think Jigga is
Yep. Hova was, yeah.
That's rough.
It's not, what do they say? Like, don't live long enough to see your heroes become, what is it? Oh God.
Great quote.
I forget the, you cunt. The alleged shooter got caught in the United Health shooting. So that's,
Yeah, and
Triple D.
For everybody who lives in Maryland who sends their kids to Gilman, yeah, what are you going to do? Foster the next like killer?
Private school children turn out they're all killers.
Yeah, basically. And read Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah. Drones are attacking New Jersey, apparently. It's a real it's a war of the world situation up there, I think. The Sudanese civil war took a turn for the worse.
God, that I feel like Sudan has been for the worse for the last
long time.
6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Probably longer.
And it turns out like one like the latest wave of violence has come because there's a $1 billion gold mine that is up for grabs. So people are just trying to kill each other to get to it. And then lastly, and before we get into our story here, the sale of the domestic extremist and all around piece of shit Alex Jones company InfoWars.
It's a gay bomb.
Is going to be back in his possession after downward pressure from the incoming administration and the billionaire Elon Musk, who went to his defense in court. Alex Jones has defamed and exploited children's deaths for over, by the way, this weekend marks the 12-year anniversary of the Sandy Hook shooting.
Jesus.
So it could not be worse timing that he gets his fucking shit back. I know.
Does he get it back though?
Yeah.
I thought he didn't get it back. That he was just
It goes back into
litigation or for people being able to have open bids on it.
Yeah, so I think in 30 days the bidding starts up again, and it's going to continue like in this shit circle with him. He's such a piece of shit, and he needs, the families need restitution, and they need to be able to move on past this eventually. And I think that he's just such a pile of shit that he makes them pay every single day.
How do you move on from this?
You don't.
You don't. And then this guy is just on air spewing this bullshit all the time. And it's
Crisis actors, man.
just
Children
so
getting
infuriating. I know. Was how many kindergartners were 22 kids were killed. 5 staff members were killed.
Yeah. I mean,
that's awful.
I saw something a while back where someone was saying something to the effect of like, once we decided that children dying was more less important than keeping your guns, that's when this country started to find itself in a really bad place. No. Once we decided collectively that was okay, even if you and I individually in our own communities were saying it's not okay, the rest of the country was like, yeah, it's fine.
It's just so insane to me that there's just so much pushback for licenses and just background checks for people that have these high-powered, weapons that kill people and maim them, and they have access to them.
Yeah, and endless access. Yeah.
God damn it! Fuck! I thought we were. About this year, or we're going to finish up just jolly and not talking about depressing things. I'm feeling really sad right now.
You know what?
I'm feeling vulnerable.
Let me go ahead and help you, and we're going to talk about the housing crisis instead. Then, if that's all right.
Cool.
So last week you said something about a man who was looking in through your school window who was dealing with homelessness at the point, right? And it got me thinking. I'm like, man, like that's got to be really scary for the kids that were involved. And I wonder if those kids kind of understand like what happens to people. And then, housing is a major issue in our country. It's one of the things that the election kind of was decided on.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that there are lots of folks in my life who I know who want to buy a home, but can't, who want to have own property and cannot because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And it really got me thinking, like, well, what the fuck's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw an article in Forbes, and they were talking about this. And it was the headline is, "Can factory-built apartment complexes solve America's housing crisis?" And it got me thinking, right? And I started like...
No, because it's all about, we're going to do the cheapest shit ever and just put people in boxes.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're please. I'm not. I think you're right, 100%. But I wanted to start with like a zoomed out view because I do want to come into like our local area. Mayor Brandon Scott in Baltimore City, I think one of the youngest mayors in the country, put together a program called the Build Program, BUILD. And, we're going to, I think by the end of the episode, we'll zoom into that and talk a little bit about that, if that's cool.
Yeah.
So to help our discussion along, I found a video series from Wired on the housing crisis, and they brought somebody in. Her name is Kate Nellisher. She's a professor of housing and urban development and planning. She talks us through what housing looks like in America. But for our conversation, we're only going to focus on a couple of videos. And the one thing, the first video is called, "Why is housing so fucking expensive?"
Why are houses so f***ing expensive? Houses are really f***ing expensive right now. Number one, it's a supply and demand issue. The US is short about 4 million homes to meet the current demand. And a scarcity of any commodity means the price goes up, up, up. In fact, 2023 was the least affordable year ever to buy houses in the United States. Interest rates are increasing because it's very expensive to invest in development projects. And it also encourages developers to develop luxury housing rather than more affordable housing. Because this wealthy market exists, developers are building to target that market. They're building very expensive luxury homes. That means that other housing isn't getting built. So everyone's prices increase as a result of more luxury development.
That's super annoying because I also know that when it comes to quote unquote luxury develelment, that they are skimping everything.
Yes,
and
they
so
are.
luxury is shit.
Yeah.
And we were with some friends that they lived in a really nice place in New York, and the side of the wall was falling apart because the contractor just skimped on it.
Of course.
And they couldn't go out on their deck for a while.
Of course. Why wouldn't you skimp where you can?
Yeah.
Because
you can. So this is a background story. We went to holiday party and I was talking like Donald Trump. And Greg just laughs at my impression because it's so great.
It's so good.
I'm making America great again with my impression.
It's all accordion hands, but he's only pulling away. He doesn't squeeze the accordion.
I don't squeeze. I just pull away. I pull out.
I always pull out. I almost always pull out these guys. These guys, they're amazing people. These guys,
They're great. Good guys.
Another thing
They
that
help in the economy.
another thing that Kate talks us through is what exactly is a housing emergency?
Is there a housing emergency or not? We are in a housing emergency and we're also in a housing crisis. A housing emergency is actually a legal term. If a vacancy drops below 5%, the municipality can declare a state of emergency. And that allows them to access all these different kinds of policies. Rent stabilization, rent control are examples of this. A healthy housing market has above 5% vacancy rate. The vacancy rate in New York City is actually 1.4% right now. Anything that charges less than $2,400 a month in rent, the vacancy rate is actually 0.4 to 0.8, a very low vacancy rate.
I love B4 for you because this is really important to hear. Check this out.
The vacancy rate is actually 0.4 to 0.8, a very low vacancy rate. I love B4.
So she's saying that a healthy housing economy is 5%, and in anything below $2,400 in New York City is 0.05 something. That is insane. Poor people are being housed out of pricing out of design. It is by design. It is not by accident. So the housing crisis is not one of people not being able to, with their incomes, afford it. It's because rich people are buying them out of the market.
What, for the like fourth and fifth house?
Yep.
Ugh.
So one of the things that the Forbes article that I was reading again was about apartment complexes and like this like pre-crafted building modular homes. And the last clip that we're going to watch from Kate is she talks us through what modular homes, how effective they can be.
Modular housing can also be referred to as prefab. Different components will be manufactured in different manufacturing sites. They're all brought back to the site and assembled kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. The manufacturing can take place where labor is cheaper, and it also doesn't disturb the neighborhood as much. Another newish building technology that I'm really excited about is something called mass timber, where wood is laminated together with a special glue to create really large beams of wood that are very strong. They're also fire resistant. They have a lower carbon footprint as well. Mass timber is now becoming stronger, and so it can be used to build higher and higher buildings. Good. Previous to a couple of years ago, the highest building you could build in the United States out of timber was 6 stories. Now you can build 18 stories. So we're going to start seeing high rises built entirely of wood. It's pretty amazing.
I think so.
The way she says "oot."
So yeah, I think she brings up a lot of really interesting ideas and a lot of really interesting thoughts around housing. And it got me thinking, and I was looking into this guy who runs this company called Z Modular.
Z Modular.
Z Modular.
Oh, yeah, that is good.
Oh. His name is Barry Zuckelman.
Oh, yeah, we like to house the people.
And his, quote, new approach to building apartments is basically that idea. It's prefabricated, modular, like steel puzzle pieces. Okay. So for reference.
So, but when you mean like these steel puzzle pieces, it's just pre-made homes that are all just put on a plot of land?
No. So if you think about like, it's kind of like what they do is they build the frame of the house and then they ship it on site and then they slap it together like Lego pieces, like drill it, like not drill it in, but they lag bolt it in or whatever they're doing. So this like idea of doing this is like, quote, new. It's really not that new. We're actually going to talk about that here in a second. But like, so where they're building primarily now and why this works really well for him is they're building all these places mostly in Phoenix. And because it's super fucking hot all the time.
Yes.
He's like discovered like, you know what we can do? We could build this indoors and then just ship it like where it needs to be in Arizona. So like it costs less money. It really is like he's trying to build these apartments. But the problem is the Z modular model that I was looking at in Arizona, the flats that they're talking about, these entry level rental units, $1,600 a month.
Jesus.
$1,600 a month.
And Arizona is not cheap anymore.
No.
And they don't have water.
At all. And they're going to run out of it real quick.
Yes.
Yep. Some asshole was arrogant enough to decide that was a good place to put a building. I mean, a city. So I want to talk to you real quick, though, a little bit about Sears and Roebuck. Do you remember them? The Sears company?
Yeah.
I mean,
Of course. Actually, the house I live in is an old Sears manufactured home.
in Baltimore.
Yes.
No way.
It was
Tell
from
me more. Please tell me more.
So the house that we have these prefabbed, I guess, manufactured homes. So along our block, they're from the 1920s, but they have asbestos all over them, and but they're if you go along the block, you will see if you go inside the house, they'll all look kind of similar, but people have done their own tweaks to them to make them look different.
Okay.
But yeah.
So that is really interesting, and I'm excited to know that you know about that, because I was actually, I've always known that they, for listeners who don't know about American the home industry in America, early days, basically you could look in a catalog like you do for Christmas, go, I want that one, not hit the button, but it was Amazon. Like Sears and Roebuck were Amazon of the day. You ordered it through them. You wanted fucking talcum powder, you ordered it through Sears and Roebuck. You wanted a house, you ordered it through Sears and Roebuck. You wanted lard for Thanksgiving, you ordered it through Sears and Roebuck.
Absolutely.
So Sears sold 70,000 prefabricated homes between 1908 and 1942, when production turned to the war effort, of course, right? But I want to show you real quick, Sergio, a couple of examples of these prefabricated homes. And I've had this picture up for a little bit, but basically this is the 10-room colonial.
How does it generate? That's a lot bigger than the house that I own.
It's a massive home. It's 10 bedrooms. So they outline it as the Magnolia. And when this sold in 1937, I think it was.
Did they have the slave quarters?
They slept outside. I mean, let's be serious. I can't do it.
He can't do it. He's lost his ability to do the Trump impersonation.
I was trying to do your Trump impersonation.
Mine's the best.
Yours is the best. So this house sold for $6,488, which
$6,000
for a 10-bedroom home.
Jesus.
So here's another picture of it, and I'll put all this stuff in the show notes, of course. But this is another picture with the 10-bedroom floor plan, just with a different facade on the outside.
Wow.
Take a guess as to how much one of these homes cost in today's money.
Oh, I mean, it's got to be multi-million dollars.
So in today's money, it's $400,000. But to buy a 10-bedroom home, right? Which should put a lot like.
But what market are we talking about? I mean, Boston.
Any market you could get. So that's the thing, right? Like back then, it didn't matter if you lived in Boston or if you lived in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Like you could get a 10-bedroom home for $6,000. So they would send it to your house. I mean, they'd send it to the plot of land, and they would just throw this thing up. Some of these homes that were prefabricated sold for $360, though, back in 1908. $360, which is $12,000 in today's economy, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. But back to the Z modular thing I was telling you earlier. So that $1,600 a month, that equals up to about $46 a month in 1908 costs, right? So like when you talk about housing in America, yes, there is a supply and demand issue, but it's also a people trying to make as much money off of your fucking back as possible, right? Like I know somebody who flips houses as like part of like their revenue stream. And so basically they just wait for people to go into foreclosure and then buy it at
as low as you possibly can.
Yep. Flip it and then charge people a lot of money every single month to be a shitty landlord so that you can make money off of them.
Like Jared Kushner and Donald Trump.
Yep. I've seen it.
It's Bigley.
It's Bigley. This guy, he's Bigley. This guy.
You should still work on it. You're okay.
Thanks, man.
Not as good as me.
I know. I'm chasing you, bro. I'm chasing you. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a real quick break. And when we come back, we can talk about Baltimore and what Mayor Brandon Scott is trying to do in our largest city in the state. We are back. Baltimore City, the city that reads. Charm City, Mob Town, inspiration for The Wire.
The city that bleeds. There's a bunch of memes about Baltimore.
Yeah, it's a
Balmer Horn.
It's a city that, depending on what neighborhood you're in, looks like a war zone.
I mean, it's redlining to the finest.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But boarded up homes, abandoned city blocks, zero development in certain areas.
Abandonminiums is what they call them.
Oh, I like that. Abandonminiums.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
That's solid, actually.
Yeah.
I like that. So, red lines might as well be like actually physically throughout that city, right? Like you just brought it up. It is one of the more red line cities in the Northeast, I think, or at least in the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, Richmond's up there too, but without a doubt, I mean, you can tell the white neighborhoods compared
Fells Point, Fed Hill,
Roland Park, Guilford, West Baltimore, Sandtown, Winchester, all these neighborhoods. You can tell where the white people live and the black people live.
You can tell where the economic opportunity is how they would put it.
Or, yes, exactly.
Where the economic opportunities are. When we were watching that piece from, Wired, she brought up something that actually kind of struck home with me with regards to Baltimore.
GC asks, why are cities not using these abandoned towers to create affordable or homeless housing? What the is wrong with this country? Depending on the age and condition of the building, sometimes it can actually be more economically viable to demolish the building and build something new. Older office buildings or pre-war office buildings, ventilation required that windows be provided for every office space. So it's easier to convert these older office buildings to residential because they're already laid out like our residential buildings. Newer buildings are very difficult to convert to residential, and it's very expensive to do this. If you want to convert this into a residential building, you have to replace all of these windows. You can't have a bedroom without an opening window. You would have to puncture a hole in the middle of the building to provide window access, reconfigure all of the plumbing in the building to hook up to all of the individual bathrooms and kitchens, change the electricity supply, change the HVAC systems. So this requires just completely transforming the inside guts of these buildings. In New York City, there's about 94 million square feet of unused office space. That's equivalent to all of the office space in Dallas and Houston combined. It's a huge amount of vacant space right now, and we have to figure out what to do with it.
There.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the fastest growing metro regions in the country, I think. It is like out in that region.
Dallas, Houston,
Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a lot more affordable. Midwest is super affordable.
Incredibly affordable. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, you live in Baltimore City. You see it. I mean, like, I see it, and I'm in the county, and there are buildings that have been abandoned for years.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest things that's really hard to see is that, especially when you drive downtown, even where we're at right now, I mean, one of the Catholic churches owns one of the buildings that's just been abandoned for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, they mow the lawn, but that's basically, it's just an unused house that the Catholic Church uses. But yeah, no, it's crazy. And I don't know. You walk that tightrope of, the government overstepping its boundaries when it comes to eminent domain, because there's a lot of slumlords that just own abandoned buildings that people use to house themselves when it's really cold outside, but they also use it to use drugs or in The Wire, you bury bodies out there, and one of the biggest issues that we have in the city is that there's fires that happen all the time because people will try to stay warm and they'll catch fire, and two houses over, somebody will be living there, and it's a big fucking deal. And
it is, yeah.
And I think it takes a lot for the city. I don't know all the ins and outs, but being able to take over a property and then make it usable, or to demolish it to make a green space, it's a mess.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And Baltimore isn't like unique in this issue. It's not unique in the circumstance that it finds itself in around, empty housing, abandoned homes. I mean, right now there are 15,000 homes. Well, not right now. As of 2022, February 2022, this is the latest thing I could find. There were over 15,000 abandoned homes.
Yeah.
That is around one. So they were saying 15,000 abandoned homes. Of those abandoned homes, 1,245 are owned by the city. The crisis is a $7.5 billion a year problem.
Well, and I think one of the things that's really interesting about what you're saying right now as well is that housing prices aren't what they are in Seattle or San Francisco or Los Angeles or even New York. And so,
or Philadelphia for that matter.
Or Philadelphia.
Right up the street from us.
Yeah. And so you don't have as much unhoused people as you would. But it's still, it's really wild that we have so many unused buildings for people and spaces, and people are still living homeless.
Yeah. Let me show you this real quick clip of what Mayor Scott's program is. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. I actually hadn't really thought about it until recently. So,
thought you'd be able to afford a home? Well, Baltimore is selling houses for only $1. But yes, there is a catch.
Yep, the
purchase a $1
program.
home, buyers must promise to move into it within a year, remain in the home for at least 5 years, and be able to prove that they have a budget of at least $90,000 to renovate the property. Plus, info on the program's website indicates that $90,000 is on the low end of how much is needed to make these buildings up to code. It's likely closer to $150,000 to $200,000. Baltimore passed this $1 home program to address the city's ongoing vacancy crisis with the hope that people would be enticed by the low price tag, then restore and live in these properties. Many are optimistic that the program will help breathe life into neglected neighborhoods, but others are worried that if these neighborhoods do get revamped, current residents will ultimately be priced out. To discourage developers from buying up all the properties, the city is asking large organizations to pay $3,000 for these vacant homes, whereas individuals only have to pay $1. What do you think? Will this program be good for the city?
So,
thoughts?
Well, it's really interesting. So I lived, when I first moved out here, I lived in a neighborhood called Ridgely's Delight. And that was one of the areas. It's really close to Camden Yards that 20 years ago you could buy for $1.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of people that moved in and, did the renovations. I didn't realize that you had to have an income of $90,000. I thought you had to put like $25,000 towards.
I wonder if that's like in total, like $25,000 minus plus whatever your income is.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And I think you just had to you had to stay there for at least 3 or 4 years or whatever to show that you're making improvements.
Yeah.
And that's actually a really interesting area because you're so close to the University of Maryland of Baltimore, and so you have all these schools. So it's that area and Pigtown are areas that have a lot of students that are there, and it was an awesome neighborhood. I loved it, but there was also there were some issues down there. You had a lot of
right off
MLK. So you had a lot of unhoused folks that were there. You'd have petty crime. You'd have some armed robberies that would happen.
Yeah.
And not saying that unhoused people, did petty crimes, but it was
so after watching the video, it is a little bit like Italy, right? Like the idea, like you get the $1 house, you got to improve it, you got to keep it historical, whatever it is, and then it's yours and you're fine. You don't have to pay any more than that. From the afro.com, which I didn't know this until today. It's the oldest continually black owned newspaper in the country. It was established by a former slave in 1892 in Baltimore.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
The guy...
Not slavery. Slavery is not awesome, but...
Slavery's not cool.
No, we're anti-slavery.
So the guy who established the paper borrowed 300 and is now ran by the fourth generation of this family. So
that's awesome.
It's been continually in the family for 4 generations now, which is really, really cool.
I'm surprised Whitey hasn't taken it over with appropriation and all that.
Yeah. My uncle's obituary was in the afro.com or in the Afro newspaper.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
R.I.P.
Yeah. Big ups Bogart. Named after the Humphrey.
Really?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So from
Hair's looking at you, kid. That was terrible. It's terrible.
just as good. Quote: As of February 2022, the Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development reported that Baltimore had 15,000 abandoned homes, as I mentioned before. 1,245 of those being owned by the city. Crisis at $7.5 billion. Vacant houses can be a danger to the vitality of communities, attracting crime, decreasing the property value of homes nearby, and having an increased risk of fires, as you noted earlier. As of 2022, a study conducted by Johns Hopkins and 21st Century Institute discovered that abandoned housing is directly and indirectly costing Baltimore City nearly $210 million per year.
Well, it goes to the whole concept of that instead of companies and cities do everything possible, instead of kind of paying out front what you need to do, then they end up paying just millions and billions of dollars more
kind of
on the back end.
Global warming right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. More from afro.com. The strategy involves a block-by-block approach.
And this sounds like a little bit of critical race theory right now, Craig.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. God damn it! I need to work on my impression.
No, I think it's perfect, just the way it is. It's perfect.
It's the best. It's bigly.
It's the best. It's the bigly. It's not a quote. It's not just fixing a house in one area and then going to another neighborhood and fixing another house. Because when you do that, you are rebuilding a house within a depressed housing market.
Absolutely.
Right. The block-by-block method ensures that that as vacant houses are rebuilt, they gain value, right? And the idea should be to provide value in doing so, right? Like the idea that like if I'm dumping a bunch of money into mine, but we're just letting other houses go vacant, well, that's not raising anyone's property value. It's not raising my return on my investment that I've been putting.
No, especially if there's trees like growing through houses, which is pretty crazy. When I worked,
oh my god, yeah, it's ridiculous. I've seen this.
Yeah, I worked out in West Baltimore for a summer for the Read to Succeed program, and you would on Fulton Avenue, you would see trees just growing out of houses that didn't have a roof.
Yeah, which is in like so. You know, my job, like I have to go around the country for meetings and all kinds of sorts of things. And
spreadsheets.
Lots of spreadsheets. But you go to these abandoned neighborhoods, you go to these abandoned towns, you're driving through these areas and you're just going like, my God, like people like. Sergio, let's take a real quick break and we'll be right back. It's like the fucking Walking Dead in some neighborhoods in the city.
Dude, it reminds me. It just also reminds me of areas of just the Middle East or whatever, where it's these war torn areas are like, this is the United States right now, and you have areas that the houses have trees growing out of them, and it's just basically it's a ghost town.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're in an East Coast city.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know.
It makes me really upset to see I don't want to say once a great city, but Baltimore, it is.
It was. I mean, all cities were great at one point.
Yeah. I mean, is it falling by the wayside of like the Rust Belt kind of thing? Are we in the Rust Belt in that way?
No, because we're in the East Coast. So it's what's going to happen is that it's going to get gentrified at some point.
Sure.
It's going to be slow.
West Baltimore, yeah.
But I mean, once they start doing the bullet trains, that's going to happen in 20 years or whatever.
Yeah,
because look what happened to DC.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
I mean, DC, Chocolate City, right, was 80% African American.
Oh, yeah.
And now you can't buy a 700 square foot house for under $800,000.
Yep.
And it's probably more than that. Mm-hmm. So if you can live up in Baltimore and get a 400,000 square foot house, or spend $400,000 for 2,000 square foot house,
yeah,
and get down to DC in 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah, on the bullet train, yeah. It makes sense to me.
But it's fucked up because it's just there's so many communities that the African American community that's been there that has suffered through everything that America has dealt them, and losing your land or being taxed out and getting pushed out to the suburbs.
Yeah, and I think that's like the hard part when looking at this. And admittedly, I don't know anything really, like more than what I've looked into for this episode, and what I know tangentially through other conversations. But like, there is a disparity that needs to be recognized and dealt with at a systematic level.
Maryland's top 2 or 3 richest states in the country.
It's the number 1 wealthiest state in the country, I think.
Besides like Jersey or whatever.
No, I think it's number 1.
Well, I
think Montgomery County carries the load on that, but
Montgomery County, Chevy Chase, all those areas.
Yeah.
But you also have Bowie, right, and Prince George's County that has the highest percentage of rich African American families. But then you have Baltimore City that is one of the poorest cities in the United States and has one of the highest murder rates.
So yeah, it's New Jersey, Maryland, Massachusetts, Hawaii, round your top 4.
Which is
California rounds at your top 5.
Yeah, and Maryland's tiny. When we're talking about space,
it's all those fucking goddamn contractors down in DC, bro.
But I mean, you look at Howard County, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County.
Yeah, deep state. Deep state. They're coming for
Pizzagate.
They're coming for your children. They're gonna eat them. Dogs, cats.
Dogs and Cats 2024.
So Rhode Island, as it turns out, has this really cool initiative that they started like 10, 15 years ago. Speaking of wealthy states in the Northeast.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize Rhode Island was wealthy.
Dude, if you go to like Providence, and what's the other, like they've got another city that's like right on the water there. I forget the name of it.
No, there's a bunch of cities on the water,
but they've got this amazing, have you ever been to Providence? I've been there a couple of times.
Yes, I've gone once. Just got back from our honeymoon 11 years ago, and we flew into Providence and went to a cousin's wedding out in Nantucket. So,
oh God, it's so nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of Portuguese out there.
Oh, big time. Big time. We were out in Cape Cod for a wedding, and it was basically just Portuguese.
But not Brazilian. Portuguese from Portugal.
Yes, Portuguese of European descent. The white right. What? So anyway, we were back. We were in I was in Providence, in my one of my top 5 cities in the country.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, you love it.
Oh, I love Providence, Rhode Island. We should go. Genuinely.
Do you like the movie Outside Providence?
Never even heard of it.
What?
Never even heard of it.
Oh, fuck. Once. You should. I read the book and
is it good? What's it about?
It's about these guys that lived outside of Providence, Rhode Island,
really?
and It's
The only movie I need to know about Rhode Island was Dumb and Dumber. That's really all I needed.
Baldwin's and Alec Baldwin's, I think, is in it. It's fucking amazing.
Okay, the lesser of the Baldwin brothers?
No, Alex, the big star.
Wait, who's the other one?
William Baldwin.
As he starts listing them off.
No, I think that's. I mean, William
There's
Baldwin
several
was the one
Baldwins,
from Usual Suspects.
I have no idea what we're talking about anymore.
Outside Providence. Watch a movie and read the book.
Okay, I will.
It's amazing.
Well, back to the real Providence. They've got people living in micro apartments in a mall now, which is wild to me. Like, they rebuilt the Providence Arcade. We're not going to watch the clip because it's basically just the same thing we're going to say here. But they reinvented the mall space to make it not only a place for shopping, but also for people to live. But it's these like micro apartment ideas. And so like there are creative, like, I don't know, there are creative ways people and developers are trying to look at housing in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that living in a mall is the American dream, but maybe it is in some kind of way. Like the American dream is very much like the mall concept, like boom and burst kind of situation. But it does make you think about like, what do we do with like abandoned malls? And like, I've been to a couple of abandoned malls and like, you go, man, there's so much space here. What are we doing? Like, why don't, they were talking about in this documentary, well, not this documentary, but this news piece that I saw on ABC about this mall situation. They were like, yeah, like majority of the parking lot is completely empty. So why don't we just build here instead of like building up new, like tearing down new ground, just build here.
Well, and it has a piping for sewer systems and electricity. Yeah.
Everything's already plumbed in. Like, why don't we just do this here versus like tearing up more land to do so? I think smart development is going to be it's got to be the way of the future. It's got to be.
I mean, it has to be because there's people aren't going to be able to afford it. But I looked at I was really into for a while. I love Vox, and so I watch a lot of Vox
Big
stuff.
fan of Vox,
And they talked about housing in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is the most, I think, square foot, the craziest expensive place to live. And there's these coffin areas where
I've seen this too,
where people are just living in as of like where they have all their possessions and their each other. And they probably paid like $2,000-$3,000 a month for that, or you have a family, or you're 10 people are sharing a space with one bathroom and a kitchen, and you have to be innovative. And I think that the container homes that's kind of popular now, where people are trying to shipping containers and converting them into homes. But it's crazy, and I guess I take it back to just being really lucky, and you being really lucky that we own homes.
Don't have to worry about it. Well, it's not that we don't have to worry about it, but it's not like a constant day-to-day thought.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and I, from where we bought our house to now, we've put work into it, but we could probably sell it for $200,000 more than we bought it for.
It's a beautiful home.
Yeah, it's a great home.
It's
the best home. It's the best home in Mayfield. But it's I find myself just super lucky to be able to be in a position to own my house, and hopefully, this is actually big news. I don't know if I even shared this with you, but I am hopefully done with my last student loan payment, and the rest is going to be forgiven.
You bastard.
Oh, my God, dude. It was 10 years, and I overpaid, I think, a little bit when it comes to, because I didn't get on top of it, but I am hoping before the Department of Education is dissolved that my student loans will be dissolved.
If the Department of Education is dissolved, does that mean that your loan is dissolved? Because at that point,
no, I'm sure that they would be like, and now you're going to have like 20% interest on.
The thing I love about this country is they're like, let's dissolve the organization that loaned you the money, which should mean by default that all the money goes away. But no, we're going to find a way to make you pay for that even further.
For more money. But yeah, so I am hopefully done with payments. I'm just waiting for the application to be approved.
That's awesome, dude.
And
congratulations.
That's huge.
As someone who feels the titanic weight around his neck with student loans, I feel so much joy for you and also so much envy.
You know what? I would have random panic attacks at night where I would wake up and just be like, oh my God, I owe so much money. And if it doesn't get forgiven, because I heard
You'd never be able to pay it off.
Well, I had friends that thought they were in the land, but they paid their 10 years and they were like, oh yeah, that you weren't part of the program. The loans that you have are private.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. I remember I had I got a buddy of mine who's like, oh yeah, I'm going to teach, 10 plus years.
Yep.
And my loans will get forgiven. And I think they are forgiven. But, I was like, man, so I taught for a couple of years and I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. Like, I hate this, but I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I'm hoping, man, that would be
that
would be the best Christmas present ever.
big
I'm all about paying back what I borrowed.
They say you have to pay it back. You gotta pay it back.
Pay for it.
You gotta pay it forward.
Pay for it. I only am elongating. I'm not shutting it down.
I'm not going to shut it down like the border. I'm going to shut the border down. Anyway, Sergio, I want to ask you, what are your final thoughts around what we were talking about today? Because I feel like, we obviously we're not going to give like a full composition as to like what the housing crisis looks like in this country, but like
we're going to solve it right now.
Bring it forward then.
We're not going to solve it. I think the biggest issue with housing, and I think Kamala Harris brought it up, is that we need to create more housing for more people and make it more affordable. I think one of the biggest issues is, especially when you go into areas on the West Coast, New York, these areas that just housing is just so freaking expensive that people can't afford to live. And I think that's when you... And I'm going to get all social worky, but when you talk about the basic needs of people, people need to be housed. If you're not housed, everything exponentially goes up when it comes to like health issues, mental health stuff. You need to have a place that you can feel safe and sleep and feel warm. And we aren't taking care of our people. We're allowing finances and people to get rich off of it, rather than taking care of our fellow man.
Yeah.
And woman.
I think you're right in so many different ways. And I think, the exponential increase in mental health episodes that come out of not being able to feel like you're grounded in something.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that, when my wife or I are having a really bad day, at least we're able to come home.
Yeah. And a warm home.
Yeah. Oh, a warm home with walls, with doors, with windows.
With internet, TV.
All the, even if you were to take that stuff away, like the add-ons, and you were to say like, hey, you've got a place to be. Mm-hmm. And I think that matters so much. And when you look at, the Wired article, the video, when the professor was talking about the idea that, these rich people are buying up these properties, or their properties are being built for the rich. All of a sudden, it starts to crystallize the idea in my head, at least. Maybe we're building for the wrong people.
Well, and it's really interesting you say this, and I don't want this to appear or come off as racist or whatever, but I know when it comes to areas in Washington and Vancouver in the Northwest. So Vancouver they call Hongcouver because there's Chinese corporations will buy up all the housing for employees, and for their employees to come in, or they just do it for their own wealth. And I'm not just saying it's Chinese, but it's
they're doing it in
any kind of corporation is going to do it.
Yeah.
From whatever country you're coming from. But
I'm sure they're doing it. Americans are doing it elsewhere. New Zealand, for one. I know that they're buying large plots of land in New Zealand, American billionaires. But the Chinese are doing it. Americans are doing it.
Any country in India, I'm sure, is doing it.
Wealthy people are
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it matters where you're coming from as much as it is like you have so much money. You can afford to buy hundreds of acres.
City blocks of housing.
And then you get into like the idea of like, well, who owns land? And then like start like once you start getting into like these
Get
philosophical
super
questions.
existential.
Yeah, these philosophical questions like, can you own land on stolen land? Like, can you do that? Is that possible? And I feel like Native American indigenous peoples would say you can't own the land.
It just reminds me of that like 80s or 70s commercial of the car dumping out the trash and the Native American picking it up and the tear coming down.
Egoistic bullshit.
But it's absolutely so true. It's just like how we've talked about this kind of personally of how we're all so fucked, and it doesn't matter. You can be the biggest billionaire ever, but the world's been blown up 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die at some point.
You ain't wrong.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter how much money. I mean, yeah, you'll have money. Maybe you can go fly out to Mars with Elon, but
Tell me about it.
good luck. Nature always wins.
So Sergio, I think that's probably we're going to leave it, if that's okay.
Hell yeah.
Listeners, thank you very much.
I want to thank all the listeners for listening to us in my accent.
It's so good.
And my impression.
It's amazing. If you enjoyed if you've enjoyed the episode, I hope you will.
Subscribe. Smash that like button.
Keep going. Just
Give us feedback.
Just keep going. Just finish it.
Email us at the extremes. Because this is what we're doing.
If you want to, though, you can also subscribe, right? Subscribe. You can subscribe to the show if you want to.
No, you just got to go that long. You're not contrasting. You're just making it long.
So subscribe, share, because that's awesome. If you'd like to hear your earworm on the show, reach out to some blue sky at the Extremes Pod. Check the show notes, and until next time.
Educate yourself, bro. Educate yourself.